Hello, this is Barry Wolfe with Marcus and Millichap. I am so excited. I'm able to bring on the Wolfe Bites. One of the things I'm really enjoying with this, bringing back some of my favorite people on LinkedIn. And Yonah, you are absolutely on one of those. You're a phenomenal resource when it comes to cost segregation and ways that landlords and tenants as well can be saving money on their property. So Yonah Weiss, tell us a little bit what you do. And I'm really excited about our conversation today.
Thank you, Barry. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And, if you don't know me, you may be living in a hole or something like that. But no, I just hang out on LinkedIn all day. That's what I do. If you want to know for real, I spend time helping people save their tax dollars through cost segregation. I work for the largest national company doing that, Madison Specs. Also involved of recent, before this pandemic at least. We'll see what going forward looks like, but in multifamily real estate investing, and very excited about that. And starting my own podcast, which is about to launch relatively soon, hopefully in the next week or two, Weiss Advice. So we'll check that out. And Barry,
that's awesome.
Yeah, lots of good news. And Barry, we're going to have you on there. So let's jump right into it.
Obviously, we're going through some challenging times with the economy. Landlords are having a very difficult time. A lot of tenants aren't paying. Tenants are obviously having a really, really tough time. I familiar with cost segregation. You and I have talked. I've introduced you to some clients. Sorry with the barking in the background. We're working from home. I know there's a lot of ways that landlords and tenants as well can use cost segregation to their benefit. Help walk everybody through that a little bit. What are some quick ways or some ways that could, whether it's through refunds potentially or just tax savings that cost seg and including some changes to the CARES Act that might be beneficial?
Sure, Barry. I think a lot of people don't even know what cost segregation is. So do yourself a favor. We're not going to have time on this little Wolfe Bite to get into it, but check it out. Find me on LinkedIn. Check out one of the podcast webinars we've done. Reach out, because there is so much money being left on the table when it comes to your tax, your income tax, and especially for landlords, real estate property owners. We're talking about now, you're not getting there. There's so many people are looking, how can I have more cash on hand, right? Not paying money to Uncle Sam that you're not even obligated to pay is probably the first and foremost thing you should be thinking about right now, even if you weren't thinking about it before. So I think it's imperative that everyone check out at least what is cost segregation, how can it benefit you. There was an incredible addition that came along with the CARES Act a couple of weeks ago called Qualified Improvement Property. This is specifically for commercial real estate. Okay, so not residential multifamily, but that's what we're talking to here mostly. Anyone who owns a property, purchased a property after 2017, or if you're a tenant and you've done tenant improvements from your own pocket, meaning if you've footed the bill for that. Right. This new law applies to both of you, okay? If you have done major improvements in 2018 or 2019, interior improvements specifically to a commercial property after the acquisition, you can now claim that as accelerated depreciation. They've listed that as 15-year property, which means instead of depreciating on a 39-year schedule, you can now accelerate it to 15 years, but that is eligible for what's called 100% bonus depreciation, which means you can take it all as a tax write-off in the first year. So if you put in $100,000 into your property in 2018 or 2019, or $1 million, doesn't matter what the amount is, and you put that into what's called qualified improvement property. It has to be specific things that are not structural, has to be things, not the roof, not things that are expanding the actual building, but specifically like, let's say furnishings or furniture, appliances, interior design, if you will, or interior things that are going to add to your property. Let's say you have a retail, a nail salon, you're putting in stuff in there. You're putting in benches, you're putting in seats, you're putting in sinks. I don't know what they have in a nail salon, but whatever you have there. All of that equipment and furniture can be now written off in the first year as a tax write-off, which means in 2019 or 2020, you can now write that off, full tax write-off, and basically be stuck with zero tax liability in many cases.
Which this is a year, I mean, any year that would be fantastic. This may be a year better than any ever to have a reduced tax liability, literally down to zero, like you said. I mean, this was a phenomenal way, like you said, tenants that are really struggling and landlords, if you could negate your tax liability for 2019, so payable in 2020, that would be incredibly timely. So it's a phenomenal information. Like you said, there's a lot of complexities to it, and you have to work with a cost segregator. It's not something you can just do on your own filing your return. You have to do a study, so they need to work with somebody like you.
Correct. That's right.
And what's interesting, Yonah, and you and I have discussed this, this is not, if you're just relying on your accountant to tell you about cost segregation, you'd be amazed, as you know, how many accountants are not aware of it, or of the attributes of it. So it's something they really, you really need to look into above and beyond even just your regular accountant. And this is 1,000% legal. This is not something that's in a gray area by any stretch.
Right. This is straight from the tax code. Unfortunately, it's such a small, tiny component of the tax code that many accountants, especially if they're not real estate focused, specific accountants, right, they are just not proactive. Okay, if they're not working, you're not working with one of the big four, or one of the large accounting firms that do cost segregation in-house. They have their own engineers in-house. Most accountants will not be proactive enough to tell you about this, to do this. And it's unfortunate, but we've seen this, hundreds and hundreds of times. So be proactive, learn about it, bring this up to your accountant, get a free estimate, see what incredible tax savings you could have, and you'll be surprised.
Reach out to Yonah. So Yonah, most anybody who's watching this are probably gonna be watching this on LinkedIn. You're out there as much as anybody, and really a phenomenal resource, and fantastic at utilizing LinkedIn to bring value. Any one or two, I know you're actually hosting a webinar on this topic, so I'm looking for a little tidbit, freebie. Any particular tips that have helped you on LinkedIn that really bringing value to folks and having it come back to you? Any particular suggestion or advice?
There's so much, and like you said, I'm going to be spending an hour or hour and a half or so this Thursday going through it. But one thing that stands out more than anything else, and a lot of people will be surprised about this, it's not necessarily about posting content, but it's really about the branding. Okay, more than anything, LinkedIn is a place to be personal branding. So even if you're posting content, but you're commenting on other people's posts, and you're just getting exposure that way through insightful comments, and that anyone can do. It's really easy. Just scroll through your feed, find something interesting, and say something intelligent or say something positive. Start a conversation, ask a question. It's so easy, but I have to just say this again. It's about the branding. If your brand, if your name, your tagline, what you do, if your profile is not up to date and tells people how you can help them, what you do for them, then all of that activity on social media is really for naught, because people may see you, but they have no idea who you are, what you do. And so the key of LinkedIn is really coupling that together, making people know who you are, but not only that, what you do and how you help them. And that's the point. I'd say is probably the most important point of LinkedIn.
That's a great one. Thanks so much, Yonah. We're obviously all in lockdown. Yonah, you're in New York City. When this, we get back to normal, what's the first
beach,
thing? Yeah, exactly.
They have palm trees like that in New York City.
What's the first thing you're looking forward to doing when we all get, when you leave the beach after this vacation you're on right now?
I'm just looking forward to getting back out, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well, Barry, getting back out to those networking events, those conferences where you can just get face to face with so many great people that we have the opportunity, online all the time to meet with, but really getting there face to face is like nothing else.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Hopefully we all have a conference or two we're able to get to this year. Well, thank you so much for your time, Yonah. I know you're all over LinkedIn. What's the best way for folks to reach you? Is it just through LinkedIn?
Just through LinkedIn.
Awesome. Fantastic. If you need help, cost segregation, or just questions, reach out to Yonah. He'll give you walk you through it, free advice. Fantastic resource. So thanks so much for your time.
Appreciate it, Barry. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.